Michael Jackson suspected that with his parents now reconciled, Joseph might expect to be welcomed back into the fold not only as Catherine's husband, but also the boy's manager. And that's not going to happen, he told Janet, according to her memory. Mother may want him back, but I don't. And I don't think my brothers do either. There's no way they'll let him back in. Joseph was a bit craftier, however, than Michael may have thought because he did have a plan to get back in, and it was one he knew that Michael's brothers would find irresistible, a reunion tour. Many of the artists who participated in the Motown Anniversary television special felt a new sense of brotherhood and camaraderie with the label. After the program, Barry Gorey re-signed the Four Taps to the company and teamed them with the Temptations on vinyl. Just as they have been united on stage that evening in Pasadena, other artists began to negotiate with Barry as well. Holland Dozier and Holland were back, and even Diana Ross was socializing with Barry again. It was as if they were all trying to recapture the feeling they had had during the glory days of Motown. Everyone, that is, except Jermaine Jackson. After the show was taped, Jermaine began meeting with his brothers and Joseph about the possibility of his leaving Motown, reuniting with the group, and going on the road again together. Michael knew nothing about these meetings. Michael's success can only help us, Theo said. He's way up there above us, and maybe he can throw down a rope and let us climb it. Our tour will also relieve Marlon of certain financial pressures. He and his wife Carol had separated but were now reconciled. They were determined to make their marriage work despite their financial challenges. They needed some assistance, however. At this time, the brothers also prepared a new Jackson's album for CBS called Victory. Michael did not want to be involved in the project. He will write and sing only two tracks and participate in the writing of a third, and even that much participation was too much for him. However, as they recorded the album, the other brothers became excited at the prospect of touring to promote it once it was released. No one wanted to consider Michael's reaction to the possibility of a tour, probably because they knew in their hearts as he might present a problem. The thing is, we've always worked really hard, Marlon observed at this time. As far back as I can remember, since the time Michael and I were 6 and 7, we were going to school, doing homework, attending rehearsals, and then on weekends we played nightclubs, staying up till 4 in the morning, then get up and go to school come Monday. It was real hard for us, and I don't think you can outgrow your brothers and sisters, and Michael feels the same way. We're blood, you just don't ever see those ties. By the summer of 1983, Jermaine had become excited enough about the prospects of a tour with his brothers that he asked Barry for a release from Motown. He wanted to look at his options. He said Arista had offered him a deal which he would take, and he also wanted to be free to tour with the Jacksons. Sadly, Jermaine's solo career had never taken a hold at Motown. All of the family angst, and for what? One top 10 record, Let's Get Serious, which sold 722,737 copies, and not until 1981, some 6 years after the night at the Westbury Music Fair, when he had to choose between his family and the Gordy family. However, in the company's defense, some felt that Jermaine wasn't motivated. He didn't hunger for stardom like Michael. Many of his fans felt he should have stayed with the group, stay married to Baby's daughter, and hope for the best. Sometimes I have this dream that I'm on stage with my brothers, he told me in an interview in 1983, and I'm counting off the songs like I always used to do when we performed together. We're all on stage and the crowd's going crazy. All of a sudden, I wake up. What a letdown. We all start here at Motown, he said. If anybody left anybody, I feel they left me at Motown. If we were to perform together again, there'd be no end to the things we could do, the excitement we create. Barry gave Jermaine his release, sealing an anticlimactic ending to his days at Motown. Finally, Joseph called a meeting of all the brothers in the family's living room. He announced that it was time for them to go back out on tour. The original Jackson 5 plus Randy. Michael's response was swift and to the point, count me out. Joseph tried to reason with Michael. A major tour could solve many of his brother's financial problems, and they all had them. No one had been making money lately but Michael. Of course, Michael realized that none of his brothers had become as wealthy as he had become since Thriller. However, he also knew that if they curbed their extravagant tastes, they would be in good shape. Michael's money didn't matter to nobody but Michael, Joseph maintained, and he was always very secretive about that. More important, the brothers needed to enhance their own situation. Like any other group, they needed to tour. Next, Joseph tried guilt, accusing Michael of turning his back on his brothers now that he is a superstar. If Michael, never selfish in regard to his family, had sensed need, not greed, he might have responded. However, he knew when he was being used. He also realized that even if he agreed to the tour, his superstar status would be ignored. It would be just one vote in six, the odd man out as usual. No, he said, I'm not going. The brothers stormed out of the meeting. See that? Joseph said, pointing a finger at him. Never that mad at you. So? Michael said, big deal. About a week later, the brothers and Joseph had another meeting with Michael and this time tried humor on him. They brought along a life-size stand-up poster of Michael. If you don't come with us, we're gonna put this on stage in your place, Jermaine told Michael, a grin playing on his face. It was always hard to resist Jermaine's smile. He and Michael had always been close. The brothers laughed and Michael said he would think it over. A few days later, when Michael still had not made up his mind, Joseph tore into him. Look, we don't need you anyway, he shouted at him. In fact, I think it would be better if you were on this tour. Jermaine can sing some songs, and Jackie and Marlon and Randy can have all songs. Tito too, so the hell with you, Michael. The hell with you. Joseph's reverse psychology worked like a charm. Michael was upset by his father's comments. He told John Branca, Branca, what's he talking about? The brothers can't sing. Only I can be the lead singer. Just as Michael was on the brink of making up his mind in favor of the tour, these stay go without them and maybe, though not likely, show that he was the sensible. Joseph pulled out the big gun. Catherine, who was made co-promoter of the tour. Her chief responsibility would be to turn the new family dream into reality by once and for all, convincing Michael to be involved in the tour. When Mother speaks, we listen, Jermaine once said. It could have been successfully argued that Michael had won more for Catherine over the years, financially as well as emotionally, than any of his brothers. It seemed unfair then that she would be coaxing him to do something that he clearly didn't want to do, just so that she could appease his brothers and make more money for the family. However, Catherine loved all of her children, not just Michael. She knew that they were in financial straits and that only a tour with Michael would help them straighten out their lives. In her view, it was the least Michael could do. After all, they were family. Catherine met with Michael privately and asked him to consider the possibility of a tour for her sake. How could he resist such a request? For Catherine, he would agree to continue being held down as part of a family act rather than do what was natural at this time in his life and career. Soaring his own, It wouldn't particularly matter to Joseph or the brothers that Michael's heart would not be in the upcoming tour as long as his body was on that stage. In case, Michael has wanted other things at this time on October 1983. He and Jackie Kennedy Onassis met at the Encino home to discuss the possibility of his writing an autobiography to be published by Doubleday, the company for which she worked as an editor. 5 years earlier, in 1978, Michael had befriended John Kennedy Jr. and Caroline after meeting the two while he was in New York to film The Wiz. So determined was he to meet their mother, he decided to try to date Caroline, then 20, thinking perhaps that she might introduce him to the former First Lady. I remember that Michael began to call Caroline constantly, even hoping that maybe Jackie will answer, recalled Latoya, who was staying with Michael in New York at that time. Finally, she agreed to go out on a date with him, do an ice skating rink, and then to dinner. Caroline ordered veal Osco Baco, which Michael said he had never heard of before. After dinner, Michael said he tried to kiss her, and she said, "If my mother finds out I kissed a black boy, she'll absolutely kill me." Michael came home crying, but it didn't stop him from wanting to meet Jackie. Many years later, when Michael asked Jackie about Caroline's comment, Jackie was angry. She insists that Caroline made up the excuse just to avoid kissing him. Latoya says that she discovered a naked photograph of Jackie in Michael's room in New York, hidden in a sock drawer. Apparently, an embarrassed Michael explained that he had recently visited a New York Daily News reporter at his home for dinner. While the two rummaged through the writer's showbiz memorabilia, they came across the picture of Jackie. Michael was perplexed as to why she would pose for such a photographer while unclothed. The reporter explained that the picture was taken by a paparazzo, obviously without her permission. Then the scribe gave him the photograph as a souvenir. "I just can't stop looking at it," he told Latoya. "I must meet her." "What will you do when you meet her?" Latoya asked. "I don't know," Michael answered. "Faint, I guess." By the fall of 1983, Michael was a world famous superstar and Jackie a double date editor who wanted to edit his memoirs. Finally, Michael would have his chance to meet her when Jackie asked to have lunch with him in Los Angeles. However, the day of the scheduled luncheon, Michael suffered a panic attack. "She's the most famous woman in the world," he explained to one family member. "And well, I'm me." Michael spent the afternoon at Havenhurst, vomiting and hyperventilating while Jackie and a couple of assistants waited for him in a Beverly Hills restaurant. The next day, Michael invited Jackie to his home in Encino. On the day she was set to come by the house, everyone was excited, Steve Howe remembered. Naturally, we all wanted to meet her, but would have settled for just a glimpse of her going from the limo to the house. The buzz around the house was "Jack's coming. Jacko's coming." The driver called from the car to alert Michael that they were about 30 minutes away. "Okay, everybody, out," Michael said. "You can all go home. Out, out, out." Though nobody wants to leave, everyone has to go. Michael wanted the entire staff to vacate the premises so that he'd be able to be alone with Jackie. "But I want to meet Jackie O too," Catherine said. "Nope," Michael told her. "Not this time, Kate. Maybe next time." Another friend of Michael's remembered Jackie wanted to talk about book business, but Michael had other things on his mind. He wanted to know how she felt about always being photographed everywhere she went. He wanted to know how she handled her celebrity. He asked for tips on how to avoid paparazzi. He admired her and was hoping to figure out what makes her tick. Michael was 25 years old and felt uneasy about writing his memoirs. "I'm still trying to sort all of it myself," he told Steve Howell. Indeed, some of his life did deserve close examination, but most people who knew Michael at this time agreed that he was not the most impartial person for the job. Michael was much too concerned about his public image and that of his family to write the real story. He certainly had many personal problems, most of which Jackie was now aware of, but he would do anything to protect the family's dignity. I don't want to let my fans down by having them know the whole truth, he said. They'll be crushed. Michael knew that burying his soul in a book about this time was not something he could do, so he asked Jackie to consider a scrapbook concept, a book illustrated by such novelty items as his first report card, early pictures, and poetry. Jackie tried to act interested, but she really wasn't enthralled by the notion. She wanted his whole life on paper, but she agreed to the scrapbook idea at least for a while. The next day, Michael took Jackie to Disneyland. Jackie wore a sleek leather jacket with belt fastened around her impossibly thin waist, along with playfully striped pants. Michael was in the request military style sequin jacket and adorned with silver zippers and buckles. They both wore sunglasses. Afterward, he told me he thought she was strong and intelligent, and the fact that she survived JFK's death made him feel that she was someone he would have in his life as a mother figure. So Latoya, I told him, but Michael, we already have a mother, and he said yes, but we have to take care of Kit because of all she's going through with Joseph. Who is there to take care of us? I don't know the answer to that, concluded Latoya, but I felt sure it would not be Jackie O. Meanwhile, Michael struck up the first of many friendships with young boys, this one being the 12-year-old actor Emmanuel Lewis. Emmanuel was 3 feet 4 inches tall at the time. Michael enjoyed carrying him in his arms as if he were a toddler. Emmanuel had come to Hollywood to star in the sitcom Webster. Michael had seen him on television commercials and had always been wanting to meet him. He telephoned the boy's mother and invited him to Havenhurst. When he did, the two became fast friends. In truth, Michael nearly became obsessed with Emmanuel Lewis. They would play with Michael's pets, run around the estate like little kids playing, cowboys and Indians, roll around on the lawn together laughing. It appeared to observers that Michael was trying to live the childhood he felt he missed. Today, of course, this is considered normal behavior for Michael. Everyone was used to seeing him rolling around with kids. However, in 1983, this was considered unusual even for him. One visitor at the Encino estate recalled watching as Michael read the story of Peter Pan to Emmanuel. Afterward, the two of them imagined themselves as characters in the story. According to the eyewitnesses, 25-year-old Michael and 12-year-old Emmanuel sat on the floor with their eyes closed and fantasized that they were flying over Neverland. Believe it, and it'll be true, Michael whispered. Now you ready? Do you believe? Do you? Yes, I believe, Emmanuel said, his eyes closed slightly. I do believe. They then began to recite dialogue from the story. After a while, the two broke up laughing and began to wrestle on the floor like puppies. Emmanuel Lewis's family reportedly came concerned about the friendship after Michael and Emmanuel checked into the Four Seasons Hotel in Los Angeles as father and son. It's not known what fantasy they were acting out at that time. However, shortly afterward, they stopped seeing as much of each other. Once Michael had agreed a reunion tour with his brothers, Joseph and Catherine asked Don King to assist in promoting the venture. Don is a flamboyant, outrageous, and controversial black man considered by many at the time to be the leading boxing promoter in the world. Raised in the Cleveland ghetto, he went to prison in 1966 for second-degree murder after killing a man in a street fight. He served 4 years and then began promoting prize fights. King was best known for his huge boxing promotions of Muhammad Ali's Thriller in Manila and Sugar Ray Leonard Rubber Duran's fight. When the Jackson sons met with him, though, they were not impressed. During the meeting, King wore a white fur coat, diamond rings, and a gold necklace on which hung a charm. A crown with the name Dawn on top of it. His gray hair stuck straight up as if he'd just been electrocuted. The brothers decided that he was too ostentatious, not the type of man they wanted representing them in the public arena. However, their negative judgment about Don King shifted when he came up with $3 million to give them as a show of good faith against concert earnings. $500,000 to each member of the group. The brothers were ecstatic. Joseph was happy and Catherine content. Michael was not impressed. I think he's creepy, Michael told one friend. I don't trust the guy. He just wants a piece of the action, that's all. It wouldn't be a small piece, that much was certain. 40 shows were planned with a projected gross revenue of $30 million, deduced $6 million for expenses will leave $24 million net profit. 85% of which will go to the group, 7.5 amount to $3.4 million for each Jackson member, enough to get the brothers back on their feet for a while anyway, as as well as $900,000 each for Joseph and Catherine, and 1.8 million payday for Don King. Once aboard, Don King contacted Jay Coleman, an enterprising promoter who specialized about obtaining tour sponsorships from major corporations. Don told Jay about the Jacksons tour and their need for a big money sponsor. And you, my man, are just the white boy who can walk into a corporation and tap them for the change. He said, he was right about that. Jay recruited the Pepsi Cola company to pony up another $5 million to sponsor the tour. Jackie Teal, Randy Marlin, and Jermaine all voted to work with John King as promoter. After all, an extra $5 million was impressive. However, for Michael, $5 million was, as they used to say back in Gary, chump change, especially after it was split six ways and 15% was taken off the top for Don, Joseph, and Catherine, leaving Michael with $700,000 and not as effective. Michael reluctantly agreed to allow Don King to promote the tour, but he wanted Pepsi out of the picture. Forget it, Michael said. I don't drink Pepsi. I don't believe in Pepsi. The family then worked on Michael to accept the Pepsi endorsement. There was too much money involved to let it go. It was a viable and impressive sponsorship when Michael drank the soft drink or not. The Rolling Stones had only received $500,000 for their endorsement. In fact, up until that time, the biggest deal in Madison Avenue history had been actor Alan Alda's for Artery, and that was only a $6 million. The brothers thought Michael was crazy. I just don't want to do it, Michael insisted. I have a bad feeling about it. Finally, after a weekend of intense pressure, Michael signed the contract at 4 o'clock one Monday morning. A writer made it clear that he will not hold a can of Pepsi or drink from one in any commercial or publicity photo. You know something? I don't think that what boy has against making money. Joseph said later in regard to Michael's reluctance about the Pepsi endorsement. You can always have more money. You never get to a point. I don't care how much money you have. Whether you don't need more money, and at that time, everybody in the family except Michael, I guess, needed it. On November 30th, 1983, a press conference was organized at the Tavern in the Green Restaurant in New York City to announce the Jacksons reunion tour and the fact that Don King we'd be promoting it. By this time, Michael had two more major hit singles, Human Nature and PYT, so it was expected that the site would be mobile mobbed with fans, which was there were over 100 police officers guarding the tavern. The press conference began an odd note and went downhill from there. In his introductory remarks, Don King spoke of God, then love, and temperament, and the fact that Michael had soared the heights to the unknown. Then said the master promoter, "It is so fortunate for all of us and so symbolic that we have such a beautiful family to use for all the world to see. They are humble, they are warm, they exude charming magnetism. The love that emanates from these guys is so contagious," he enthused. "It's so captivating and infectious, and it got me into this whirlwind of a musical spell that I can't seem to get out of." On and on he went for almost half an hour. Then he showed a 15-minute documentary about himself. Catherine, Joseph, Latoya, and Janet watched with confused looks on their faces as Don King then paraphrased Marlowe's speech from Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. "Be not afraid of greatness," he said, his chest puffed with pride. "Some men are born great. Some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them." Joseph leaned over to Catherine and was overheard asking, "Is he talking about us or himself?" She shrugged. "Does anything he said make any sense at all?" she asked, bewildered. Duncan then spoke of the upcoming 40-city tour, a concert film, and a live satellite broadcast. He also announced that Pepsi Cola had put up $5 million for the privilege of sponsoring the event. The Texans would start in two commercials for Pepsi as part of the deal. "It is going to be fabulous, the highest grossing tour, the most amazing tour ever in history by these extraordinary men." Finally, Michael, Marlon, Tito, Jermaine, Randy, and Jackie walked out to great applause from the press corps. They sat on the dais too, with glum faces, their eyes hidden behind sunglasses. None of them looked amused by the manner in which Sean King continued to grandstand for the media. Finally, Don urged Michael to speak. "I really don't have anything to say," Michael began. "I guess I'd like to introduce the rest of my family. First, my mother, Catherine." "Yes, that's his mother, Catherine." Don Yes, I am reading from the book. Don King butted in. "The backbone, the strength, the heart and soul. And this is my father, Joseph." "Mm-hmm. That's him, Joseph Jackson. I love that man. That man is truly mesmerized me." "And that's Latoya and Janet," Michael said, now frowning at Dawn. "Yes, aren't they truly lovely? The Jackson sisters." Latoya and Dawn's voice trailed off, letting you notice Michael's expression. "And my brother's beautiful wives are here," Michael continued. "Hazel, Carol, Emmett, and Dee Dee. My sister Marin is not here because she was doing an album for CBS. Thank you very much." Michael then refused to answer questions. "Thank you, Michael," the golden voice of song. Oh, excuse me. The golden voice of song, Don said quickly. "So what's this tour going to be called?" a promoter asked. "They haven't named it yet," Kate answered. "Excuse me, but yes, we have," Marley cut in. "We're calling it the Victory Tour." "So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen," Don proclaimed. "That is the name of the tour, the Victory Tour. And what a heck of a name it is, too." "And what's the point of this tour?" someone else asked. "The tour will mean that the brothers are getting together once again," Jermaine said, "to unite and work close with each other to show the world that we can make everybody happy and everybody in the whole world will unite as one because we want to bring this together in peace for everyone," he concluded, making about as much sense as Don King. Why can't Michael say more? Asked another reporter. Well, Don shot a look at Michael. Michael shook his head emphatically no. His voice is a problem because he has been working so hard singing those songs and making all those hit records that Don. He will not be able to continue talking now. Isn't that right, Michael? Michael seemed to glare at the promoter behind his shades. Later, Washington reporters Maxwell Glenn and Cody Shearer would dub the event one of media history's most abdominal press conferences ever. Another observer called the Jacksons tour the Nitro Tour, explained that at any time the whole thing is going to blow the sky high. Michael had arranged to have the press conference videotaped a few hours before it was mercifully over. He, John Brunkett, and a few other trusted associates watched the tape in Michael's suite at the Helmsley Palace. It's a mess, isn't it? Was Michael's was Michael's verdict. John observed that Don King was actually the star of the show, and that the Jacksons had been some kind of sideshow. But that really stinks, doesn't it? Michael said angrily. We gotta show this tape to the brothers. Michael then called me in his room. Jackie, Tio, Jermaine, Marlon, and Randy showed up within minutes. After the press conference, they had their doubts about Don King. Look at this terrible thing, Michael said, putting on the videotape. What's wrong with you guys? Michael wanted to know after the tape finished. Can you see that this man is using us? This is the Don King show, and the Jacksons are an opening act. Can't you see how bad this looks? You're right, Michael, Jackie said, shaking his head in despair. The guy is a complete jerk. Unbelievable, Jermaine agreed. Mike is right. I've never been so embarrassed. That was bad. Real bad. The rest of the brothers agreed. Participating in the press conference that had been a bleak enough proposition, but seeing how it looked far from the other side of the dais was more than the brothers' pride could bear. Well, look, you guys chose this creep, Michael said. Now, Branca and I are going to choose someone else. Our tour coordinator who's going to really handle the business. Someone like Bill Grimm or Ivan Azov. Someone big in the business, like I said, referring to two giants in the concert promotion world. Do we agree? He has taken charge. Is it time to take back some power? The brothers nodded their heads in agreement. Here are some pictures from the book. Past photos. Look at that. She got a huge birthday cake. You're very welcome. There's his half sister, Giovanni. Their sisters, Rebbe, Latoya, and Janet.